Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Energy Caper Show. My name is Scott Morrison. In my authorial mode, I'm William Scott Morrison, author of the Energy Caper, or Nixon in the Sky with Diamonds. It's a novel about how Richard Nixon could have saved the planet from global warming by making America energy independent back in the 1970s. It's obviously an alternate universe that didn't happen here, but it could have happened, and it still could happen. And the history and the science that you'll find there in the novel on the topic may actually make a difference in your thinking about how to fix everything that's wrong in America. But this is a follow-up day to my previous posting, which was my first interchange with Rush Limbaugh back in 1992. This is a follow-up. This is like 1 year later after that first one. And thank goodness there's not a tree trimming operation across the street, so it is not plagued by that awful static that you heard in the first one. If you saw the first one. If you haven't seen the first one, you should probably go check it out before you check this out. It's called Me and Rush Round 1. This is titled Me and Rush Round 2. And same basic topic. Rush was talking about Clinton. Clinton has been elected at this point, whereas in the previous call a year earlier, he hadn't even been, well, he might have been nominated, but the Republicans were having their convention in Houston, so it was several months before the election. And by now, Clinton's in office for, a year or thereabouts. And well, I'm just going to get into it. Remember in the last time we talked about draft numbers, and Rush bravely, I think, admitted that he had a medical condition called a pilonidal cyst, which kept him from worrying about having to serve in Vietnam. So I looked that up to see what it was, and for those of you that weren't around during the Vietnam era, if you were a grunt in Vietnam, pounding the patties in the Mekong Delta, you had a term that everybody knew called a $1 million wound. Now, a $1 million wound was the kind of wound that wasn't bad enough to kill you, and it wasn't bad enough to cause you really serious injury, but it was bad enough to get you sent back home to the world, as every place on the planet outside of Vietnam was known by the grunts. And so anyhow, Rush got out with his pilonidal cyst, which sounds to me awfully like a $1 million butt pimple. But anyhow, here we go with round 2.
California, this is Scott, a little place north of San Francisco. Hello, sir.
Hello, Rush. How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Yes, well, I've spoken to you before about a year or so ago. I'm the guy that got you to talk about your draft number. And when it was all Clinton day to day, I tried to get through, and boom, here I am.
Here you are.
And
see how
I want to
easy
say,
it is.
Rush, that we had a real good conversation before, but you did hang up on me, much to my chagrin. I was left screaming into the telephone while you used the euphemism and went to the break.
Well, that generally happens when it's time to go to the break.
Well, I know, but you do hang up on people, so don't let him,
No, I don't hang up. When it's over, when the conversation's over...
But it wasn't over. You didn't answer my questions.
It was over. I'm the host. The conversation was over, and I did answer your questions. Maybe not the way you wanted them answered.
No, because you specifically declined to answer whether people like John Kerry deserve to have their finger on the nuclear button. Because he was opposed to the war in Vietnam, yet he served over there. And you were saying that Clinton was not qualified to have his finger on the button because you keep calling him a draft dodger.
He held the military and the use of force in contempt.
He did not hold the military and the use of force in contempt. He held the purpose for which it was being applied.
He said,
it was a big lie.
I loathe the
Vietnam
military.
Was a big lie. In fact, it was a series of 4 big lies, starting with Harry Truman, moving through Eisenhower, right up to Johnson, and then the trickster.
Now, wait. Let's get into... You're separating now your opinion from Clinton's. All I'm telling you is that Bill Clinton's on the record as saying he loathes the military.
No.
He protested...
The military.
He said it.
That's where you're wrong. That's where you're miscasting the whole thing about it. He does not loathe the military. He loathes the purpose to which it was used.
He said it.
He does not loathe the military, Rush.
Would you tell me...
the purpose to which it was applied. applied.
Would you give me?
He would be forced.
Hang on a minute. Hang on just a second. Would you define for me the
Germany over there?
Would you define the difference for me between Bosnia and the way he's handling it and the way we got started in Vietnam? Would you define the difference in what we're doing in Somalia and Vietnam?
Because Harry Truman let the French back in after World War II and then lied to us about it. We kept going in Vietnam because the Dulles brothers under Eisenhower refused to allow them to have an election over there when they knew that 80% of the population would have gone for Ho Washington. They wouldn't let that election happen. They called it they didn't call it anything. They just refused to allow it. That's how we got into Vietnam. Harry Truman and the Dulles brothers. And then, of course, Johnson came along and did his number on us. But it was 4 different administrations that led us down the merry path in Vietnam. And Clinton came along and realized what was going on, like 95% of the rest of the generation did, and said no. I mean, I'm a grunt, Rush, and grunts for Clinton are, 99% of anybody who was in the Army during the Vietnam era is for Clinton. Trust me on this. You might get some officers and some NCOs who call in and they're just rabid proud about what they did in Vietnam, but you get the grunts on the telephone, and you're going to find a whole different story.
We'll find out. We'll open it up to grunts. People who support Clinton and the grunts.
Another thing you ought to do is have an all Canada today, where just people from Canada call in about their health service. I think you'll open your eyes on that one quite a bit, too.
They can't because our 800 number does not allow for it.
Oh, come on. I have an 800 number. It's an extra $10 a month to get all of Canada. You can afford it.
No, we're not going to do it.
You can afford it.
We're not going to do it.
I know you won't do it because you don't want the truth to get out about their civilized medicine.
I'm not afraid of the truth. That's what you've got to understand something. I am not afraid of the truth.
Then why won't you $10 a month to Rush open up Canada to your?
Sir, it is not $10 a month.
It is $10 a month.
It is not.
I just got an offer in the mail.
You are going to equate a bill you get as a consumer in Petaluma, California, with this. I want to point out another ringing endorsement of Bill Clinton. A totally ringing endorsement, once again, of President Clinton. We've opened it up. Instead, they want to argue with me. Now, Scott, call is over because we've got to go to the proverbial break. So, time is up. Goodbye. So long, farewell. We'll be back in just a minute.
You're listening to the EIP.
Well, that was much shorter than my previous conversation with him, but I got more in there. I had learned over the course of the last conversation that you can't let Rush divert you from topics. He's good at that. He never did answer the John Kerry question I posed in the previous call and reiterated in this call. He skipped it over both times. I'd like to point that out. And he did hang up again. I was there yelling into the telephone that second time when you heard the old ding sound, and he went to the break. So let me think about this a little bit, and I'll be right back. Well, hello again, and yes, I think I'm going to go with what you just saw and heard. It's close enough for rock and roll and close enough for government work. As conservatives always say, all government workers always say about their job performance, which they consider to be subpar, no matter what kind of outcome might occur. That's just how conservatives are. I was in a public place yesterday, and Rush Limbaugh came up out of the blue. I'm sitting there quite innocently, and 2 people whom I've seen around but don't know at all. They had apparently not seen each other in a while. Hey, how you doing? Did the whole handshake thing, and they sat down right next to me and began immediately talking Republican presidential politics. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but I didn't try to tune them out either. And they were very upset about the Republican field for the presidential nomination in 2012. The very first debate had just happened. Donald Trump was still, ballooning around or buffooning around the internet. And the one person said to the other, we just have to find somebody more charismatic if we're going to beat Osama. And the other guy said, you just said Osama instead of Obama. And the other guy said, I do it all the time. And his friend said, yeah, we all do. Just the other day, Rush did it. And I'm sitting here thinking, you fools have it on your mind that Osama and Obama, because their names are so similar and you hate them about equally, you just have this psychological thing going. So you might make a mistake. It could be a misspoken phrase. The phrase was coined by Ronald Reagan's speechwriters whenever he would make a blunder. But when Rush does it, he does it on purpose. He knows exactly what he's doing, trying to imbue it into your consciousness that Osama and Obama are, cousins at least. Okay, that's it for the Energy Caper Show for today. You can get the novel on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all those kind of places, as well as at your local bookstore. It's also available in the Kindle format and other e-book formats. It's also available as an audiobook, but I haven't figured out how to get it out there yet, but I have copies of it, and then a single MP3 audio disc. You'll have to write to me through this YouTube connection in order to get me to respond, and you'll have to say, I'm interested in the audiobook, and I'll tell you how to get it. Okay, that's it for the Energy Caper Show. Until next time, peace, and bye-bye, Osama! And thank you, Obama.